very good evening to everybody. So today we are going to talk about delegation. I think the word is very self-explanatory that what delegation means, but still, I'll just give you a short insight about it. But let's first just go through it, that what exactly a little bit of delegation means about. Delegation is leaders make leaders. So it's always a hand in hand. And so united, we are always gonna make the world better, as we all know about it, but still working together as a team is always gonna be beneficial. So just for that, one single thing that we are gonna make things work for us is just delegation, where we can work as a team for everyone and we empower people. We empower people by giving them authority. We empower people by giving them responsibility. We empower people by trusting them. We empower people by thinking that they're efficient enough to do our work. So we are a part of Hedweeg Innovations. The first rule of management is very much precise, and it is known as delegation, because don't try and do it everything yourself, because you can't. A very well-known author, Cynthia Turner, has written this, and I think it is the first rule of management. When we say that, the first rule of management is we have to divide the work so effectively in every possible way that we can, becomes efficient, becomes beautiful, and the output that we receive is again very properly driven to us. I would let you drive a short story over here. There is one lady who is a professional, a working female, would be, under the age bracket of 30, 40, but still, she is a vice president, a very young vice president of a well-known high-tech organization. If you ask the peers, if you ask the direct reports, the board of directors, the people, the employees, everyone, the customers, the boss, everyone working around her, they all have one common thing to share about her, that she is at par of whatever she does. When asked that how can she do that, give the best strategy at the right time, give the best possible way out if the company is in the crisis, if the organization is going through any doom, she's always at her best strategic level. Shannon, as her name sounds, is known as for outstanding business acumen and ability to bring creative solutions to the organization. But how does she do that? So when Shannon was interviewed that how can she become the very young entrepreneurs of the company, when she started just as a receptionist, the first two words that she said was effective delegation. Now, this kind of delegation, when you start your job with a very low clerical stuff, what a receptionist do, she just takes appointment, take down the meetings, serves as a personal assistant and time, and still then you hop on to be one of the stakeholders of the company. You start with one of the own things out of the organization, become an entrepreneur. How was that possible? It is known as ego-free direction and support, the delegation story. So what she said when she was questioned about how can you do the things so easily without any flaws, the first thing that she came up with was, if you provide people work, they are inspired to do that, and let them do it. They will perform well. So simply she meant, if you provide people work, let them do that the way they want. If you proactively look for signs that a team member is stressed or needs support, and then step in to assist, they will appreciate you and work hard to deliver at higher level. We always, the human race, we always tend to help people even if they are not us, even if we are not even shared the problem, even if the others don't want that we become a part of their problem or their issue, but still, just because on the humanity grounds, we tend to do that. She always said that whenever you are asked for help, only then and then enter. Delegation is just not assigning the responsibilities, it's also giving about authority. When you let your team shine and give them credit, they often exceed your expectations. When the creative space, when the creative ability of any employee, any executive, any manager, any leader is given that spectrum, a wide spectrum, a macro view, there is great possibility of them to literally shine as a star and come out with the best they can, rather than always keeping them in the cocoon, keeping them in the comfortable zone, keeping them under your supervision is always going to let them be just a follower and never become a leader. So, guys, let's move on to why the delegation, how the delegation, what the delegation, when the delegation. So, this is what we're going to start with. Why delegation? So, there are 8 simple and very layman language things that we can start with. First is delegation. Why delegation? So, when it comes why, we have to go down to the points that first one comes to the quality. Now, when we talk about quality, do we actually mean the price, or do we actually mean the content, or do we actually mean the brand? When we talk about quality, it's an amalgamation of all the best price, okay, the best quality, and the best output. So when we talk about quality, do we really think that quality is only that comes through in figures? Quality can be tangible, quality can be intangible. But when delegation is done, a project, a manager, a leader, is given a simple project, and we need to make sure that the project has been taken smoothly, swiftly, but gradually with the effectiveness of it, we can always make sure that the quality of that work is being taken care of. And for the quality, the foremost thing that comes is delegation. Because if the manager or the leader or the team leader always tends to do one thing on their own, or making other 10 aspects, other 10 prophesies, other 10 distributions just to himself, they're never going to come out the perfect way. When the startup starts, when the company starts, there is a limitation that the company can't afford people. Okay, the company can't afford the salaries. The company can't give out so much of incentives, the perks that people can work for them. That is the reason when an entrepreneur has to do everything on their own. But when the company comes into a position that they can be even distribution of the work, of the salary, of the time, that is where delegation becomes effective. So the second point comes here is even distribution. Every single thing, if we are collecting, we heard a very small and a very short story in our childhood, in our school times, that a father had 5 sons. So he asked each of the son to pick a single stick and try to break it. So all the 5 sons went and they picked the stick and they broke it. But when the father tied those 5 sticks into a bunch of sticks and asked all the sons to break, none of them could, because united we stand, divided we fall is the thumb rule or the agenda or the motto of delegation. So when there's an even distribution of all the work, all the time, all the prophecies that we have to do, all the single thing of a single project that we are handling, either it's task, either it's finance, either it's marketing, either it's development, either it's research. If there is an even distribution of a single project on the organization, it's never going to fail. It's time saving, is it, guys? Really, delegation is time saving? Yes, it is. Because when it comes to time saving, we just make sure that when the time of any single project is being taken, we always work on deadlines. The sales executives are very much into the concert that whenever they are given targets, they have to be very time effective. They are given deadlines, they are given targets for months, for week, for years, and even for quarters, even for 6 months. But if the time saving is not done, do they really think that they can achieve their goals? No, it is not possible that they can. So the first thing when it comes to the delegation part, we just make sure that time saving is done very properly. When we divide the task, when we divide every single efficient task that is given in a project, we just make sure that every single thing for either department, for the department head, for the team leaders, for the flow managers, or for the entrepreneur himself. When they divide it, everything comes on time. And rather than making a confusion between the people that who is going to do what, it just kills the time. And it is not about killing the time, what we're doing in lockdown. We're just killing the time at times. We can't have an efficient way for output. But when it comes to an organization, when it comes to your personal life, when it comes to professional life, if we know the time management, if we know the generalizing of time, we can actually achieve our thing. Now, the next point is, as I states, people skills and ability. Skills and ability, everyone knows what a skill and abilities are. But when we talk in delegation, the language of delegation says what? The skill, the strength, the weaknesses. the opportunities and the threats, the SWOT that we do about our employees or executives is one single thing that we really need to know about. When you become or when you are at the position of a delegator, when you are in a position of being called as a leader, when you are known as a manager, when you are known as a team leader, you should always know the strengths and weaknesses, the strength and the abilities of your employees. The more you know that, the more easily it would be for your employees to give you the output, the performance that you actually want to get derived from. So when you don't know that if the person is good at administration work and you put him into finance, do you think the work is gonna be at an efficient level? Do you really think the work is gonna be in a way that the company or the organization or even your position is gonna be secured? No, it's not. Because giving 1 plus 1 is 2, but if you give 1 plus 3 and try to make it 2, it's never going to happen. You have to give the person what he is able for, what his abilities are, and growing to the potential is altogether a different ball game. But when you delegate a task, you can't experiment all the time. Challenging a person, getting out of their comfort zone for their better development, for their growth is a different thing. But knowing their skills and ability and making them work the best is a very different game. Then we need to know about what operational growth is. What do you think operational growth actually means? Does it mean that we just have to keep on growing when we are doing the operations in the organization? When we talk about operational growth, it doesn't even limit itself just to the professional or to the organizational. It even works for yourself, for your own image, for your own personal life. Operational growth is always going to make sure that when you are doing anything, it has very effective efficiency and the output that you can provide. If you're doing any functionality in the organization and you want to grow, but if you're not being delegated that work in a way that you can jump on to the next step, you'll always remain on step one. People empowerment. So when we talk about people empowerment, do we really want them to get empowered, or do we really become a person who just knows the word empowerment, but when it comes to people, the empowerment is just limited to ours, limited to ourselves, and not given to the people? So do we divide both the words people and empowerment, or do we collaborate them and make them one term, people empowerment? Giving authorities, okay, giving responsibilities always go hand in hand. You always want a person to be rest assured when you are given a work, so that the next morning when you come to the office, the work is done in a precise manner, the work is done in a way that you expect of, the work is done in a way that you always wanted, that the organization gets happy with. So when it comes to people empowerment, do we really become a little feminist, or we become very equal to when we say the term woman empowerment? There are many men, there are many women who know the word, who know the terminology that is women empowerment, but do we actually give the women that empowerment? No, at times we don't. At times women themselves, they don't, men they don't, family doesn't, the organization doesn't. But the same thing if we do with our own people of the organization, it's not valid even there. We need to be very fair when we talk about people empowerment. Giving responsibilities plus giving authority for finishing, for accomplishing, for achieving those responsibilities, authority is required. So we need to empower our people, and only then and then we can actually achieve our goals. Creative space. Once we give them a responsibility, once we try and give them a task to be achieved, once we give them a goal, it's not just about making presentations or making a speech at the public, or carrying the face value of the organization on their sleeves and going for a closure call. If even if there are small tasks given like that, we need to make that their creative space is always being taken care. There is a standard, there is a base, there is a formula, there is a format, there is a structure always that these employees have to work under. But are we sure that if we just always keep on following that, can we ever get the creative space, or can we ever get the creativity out of an employee or an executive? We'll always tell them that from A to Z, you have to do this. From A to G, you have to do this. But can't we tell them that you can go A, B, C, you can take a break, and then you can continue with D, E, and F? Can we do that? Yes, a creative space can. And when you give them that space, when you give them that little space that they want and get out their performance out there in a different way where we can't think, because as everyone knows, God has designed every single mind very differently. You might not even think about the thing they might come up with. It especially happens with the interns. Whenever there is the young blood joining the organization, people always tend, the best entrepreneurs, the best leaders, the best managers, they'll always give the most difficult task to the creative young, to the creative managers, to the creative leaders. And why do we call them creative? Because these people always have one thing in common, and they are tend to get something very differently, very innovatively out of a situation, out of a crisis where somewhere the professionals lack. The interns are an asset if very properly taken care in the organization. As said by a very well-known industrialist, that the most toughest job is to be given to a lazy person so that he finds out the easiest way to achieve it, isn't it? For creative space, we shouldn't let anybody curb on it, let anybody forget about it, and make sure that they literally make sure that their creativity inside them comes out in a very effective manner for the organization. And last but not the least, we come to the scalability. When we talk about scalability in delegation, do you really think it is just taking care of the tenure, taking care of will it work in the market, will it not work in the market, will the customers like it, will the other businesses like it, is gonna be the B2B sure short potential customer of it, or it's gonna be B2C. Scalability always means when you delegate a task to a person, is it really gonna make it work? Is it really gonna be efficient? Is it really gonna be to a level that the tenure can be counted? Scalability just doesn't limit itself to just count or come into figures or come into a tangible way. It can also go beyond it. It doesn't mean that you have to stop your sorry, creative operations, empowering people, even distribution, time saving, skills and abilities, and quality. This all come under the banner of scalability. So, guys, now we are almost through the first thing, that is now why. Now we are going to move to the next thing, and that is the ideals of delegation. When we talk about the ideals of delegation, do we really need to know why delegation is to be done, or how it is to be done, and what is to be done? So, when we talk about the ideals, let me just take you through how the delegation is to be done. Ideals are I. That means introduce the task. When you delegate a person, when you delegate a new task to your leader, to your team, to your manager, you have to tell them what is the motto behind it. What is the reason behind it that you want? Is it good for the organization? It is good for their growth? Is it good for the organization growth? Every single thing has to be very precise so that the work behind it is being taken care very properly. Introducing the task. Is it time bound? Is it gonna be very efficient for the sales? Is it gonna be very efficient for the administration? Introducing doesn't mean that you just enter saying few lines that this is the task and you have to do. Introduction means telling the background about the task that they have to carry out so that they don't fail in understanding and any miscommunication is being taken there. Now we jump on to D, that is demonstrate the clear needs. As we were talking, the needs, the efficiency, the needs, the single thing that we can miss out can lead to a very a big goof up that an organization has to pay price for. Demonstrating the clear needs. If we are telling a manager, if we are telling a leader, if we are telling an executive, if we are telling an employee, a single thing that they have to carry out in a day, and if they don't do it, the first question the boss always raises or the boss always throws on them is that, didn't you hear what I said you properly? So, hearing and listening, again, two important things. And basically, the employees, the executive, many a times just hear your needs. They don't listen your needs. Listening is even evaluating, even understanding. And that's why we are blessed with 2 years and just one mouth. So before speaking, We need to literally evaluate within the blessed senses that we have of listening rather than just hearing. So demonstration at time saves the time, the effort, and the money of the organization. Ensure understanding. Asking questions is something that we have always been known that if we ask the question, it makes assured the speaker, the teacher, the parents that if we are asking a question, the other person is interested. The other person is interested in the topic, in the scenario, in the situation. And that's why to know more about it, they are asking this question. So ensure understanding. Just make sure whenever you guys delegate a single task to them, a single efficient provident to them, we need to be very sure that they are understanding the whole thing, because sometimes impromptu questions might irritate you, but they are going to save your bag whenever it comes to the output, whenever it comes to the performance that is going to lead you for the better growth of the organization and for yourself. Now we come to A, which is allocate authority and information. Allocation of authority and information. When you give a single person authority of taking decision, half of the battle is won there, because the trust factor works very majorly here. It is something inevitable that the employer and executive is not gonna notice it. When you give them an authority, make them a signing authority, give them an authority of taking decisions on your behalf, give them authority of taking decision to a stipulated task that they have been assigned to, and with that, if a proper information about the whereabouts, the pros and cons, and the in and outs of that task is given to them, there are rarely, very less chances for the delegation or the delegated task to go fail. Let go. Let go is something which is very important for every delegator to have this one characteristics, so that every single thing when they try or they commit a mistake, when a manager becomes a new manager, when an employee becomes a new executive, when a simple executive, when a normal executive becomes a leader, let go is something that every manager has to, every delegator has to happen. Let go simply correlates itself with empathy. Even when the entrepreneur, even when the boss, even when the founder or the chairperson or the board of directors, they were a part of the company, everyone committed mistake. Everyone has gone through that phase of doing mistake, because until and unless we do or we commit a mistake, we're not going to learn. We're not going to learn. So it's always been said very wisely that either we success, either we win, either we learn. We never use the word we fail, because failures lead to the best learning opportunities that we could ever have. Because as we are in the situation, it is easy to relate and understand what are the whereabouts, what are the failures, what are the scenarios around. But when we just have an overview, until and unless you fail, you're never going to get success. So let go is something that is really important for the ideals. And last, support and monitor. Supporting doesn't mean being a dictator on their head, being a task manager, or being a task master, as somebody do with a lion in the circus. We are not a taskmaster, right? We don't have to throw a hunter on them or throw unrealistic task on them so that they literally fail and we enjoy it. No. Support means we literally have to be hand in hand, as we do to our parents, as we do to our colleagues, as we do to our kids, as we do to our organizations. Supporting is we tell them that we are a ladder. You may take our support and climb. You may take our support and become the best. You may go ahead. But is that possible without monitoring? No. Because when we teach our kid, when we teach a kid driving a bicycle, it's sure they're going to fall. But we still keep on monitoring them so that the thing doesn't go out of hand. The thing doesn't become so bad that it is not to be taken care of for the later part. So we just need to make sure that when we write support and monitor, we support them, but we don't let them be that they are on their own. It is not like the memes these days going on after the last address that Mr. Modi did to us, apna apna khud dekh lo. No, it is not that. It is that we are there and we have to monitor it so that we just be a part of it. So now, Mr. Greg Groeschel said When you delegate tasks, you create followers. When you delegate authority, you create leaders. I know almost everyone is going to agree to this because I think everyone can relate to one small example that I'd like to give. When we were small, when our parents, especially something that they had to give us to, and they chose us among all the siblings, or when there was a gang of everyone, maybe downstairs playing, everyone with the friends or the siblings or the cousins. And then, amongst all, if we are chosen, just us, okay, any single person is chosen for doing something, automatically the self esteem gets a boost, thinking that the other person who was delegated the task trust you, has that immense faith in you that you will do the task properly. It might be just keeping everyone quiet. It might be just asking anyone to stand in line, following them in line. It might be the CR of the class representative. But when you are elected as a class representative, everyone gets that boost in themselves because with authority, you create leaders. Automatically, you have that faith. So when you give an authority out of the strength of 60 students in a class to one single person to be their leader, automatically with authority, he becomes the leader of them, and he tries and he acts like a leader, and he is no more a follower. But the other students, automatically they fall being a follower. So now, let me take you for the strategies. Now, when we talk about strategies, every single task, every single efficiency about a task depends on how properly we strategize it. Marketing strategy, financial strategy, then we talk about digital strategies these days, and we talk about how are we gonna make every single thing possible so that we can have maximum reach. But is that possible without making a strategy there? No, we can't. So when we talk about delegation strategy, we even need to make sure that an effective delegation is only possible when we jot down those strategies that make them more effective. So the first one is start with the reason. You just enter the office, you start with a good morning, the greeting goes on, the morning meetings are done, and then you want to delegate an important task to your team. So as soon as the important task is being delegated to the team, it's always good to start with the reason. Why can't a team, why can't any other team, or why can't any other group of people can do that peculiar task or can do that efficient thing rather than you guys? So when a role is defined to any single person, to any single team, to any single department, letting them know that without them nobody can do it, that first reasoning becomes so effective for them that they, somewhere at the back of their mind, start pretending that without us, nobody can do it. Nobody can make sure that we do. Nobody can do it as we can do it. So that one reasoning of giving, starting with the reason and only why you people are suitable or the most efficient among the crowd of the organization for this task itself boosts their esteem. Inspire with commitment. When we start inspiring, always it is not possible that financial returns or just the perks or just verbal telling or a commitment, a verbal commitment would be something that they will go on. When you inspire, make that commitment has that weightage in it. Make sure that the commitment has substance in it. Because these are professional. These are young professionals working for the organization. They're elderly professionals working for the organization at a very designated level. But if we think that, like a person, like we used to make fun of kids when we want somebody else to do our work, and we just verbally say them that, okay, we'll do this for you, you just do this for us. Is that possible? That can we do with the professionals or with the elderly executives or the board of directors? No, we can't. We just need to make sure when we talk about commitment here, we make sure that the commitment is taken care properly there. Inspiring with the commitment of their growth, of their visibility, of their promotion, of their personal level development. That commitment really works. Engaging them at the right level. When we talk about strategies, engaging a single person, engaging the whole team there are many strategies, there are many tasks where different teams work together to get the whole task properly and efficiently come to a level where it is accomplished. We can say the word accomplished or we can say achieved. But when we say engaging them at the right level, if the time, as we did know that why delegation is important and we got to know a little insight about the time management, here the same thing becomes a very inevitable part and very profitable, because when time is not taken care of, or when time is literally being considered that we can do this task tomorrow, we can do this task a year later, we can do the task a week later or a month later, the efficiency of the whole channel that has been organized for the output, for the premium output, will go for a toss. So engaging the right person for limiting the confusions, deleting the controversies, and making sure the best optimum result, engaging at the right level is very important. Practicing saying yes, no, or yes, sir. This is one very important thing when a team, when your delegated team is a very well known group to you, when it becomes a very single when it becomes a very important part of your choice, that when you have to ask a question to your employer, when you have to pay a favor to your employer, it's okay if it's a stranger or if just a colleague or just known by in the organization. But when the team is of your known, when the team is made of your colleagues, the same department that you work with, the team is of the team made of your friends, it's very important to tell or to learn the art of saying no whenever required. Many a times when we have activities during the sessions, during the teamwork, or in the organization, we tend to make our teams with the people whom we know rather than knowing that who is good at what and then we collaborate. We never do that. Hardly we do that. We just make sure that the people we are comfortable with, we go and say or make a team with them. So whenever we do that, somewhere we lack on the best abilities, on the strength, on the strong statement or the strong or the proper, efficient, every single task that a person can do just by not knowing him. So when we know the art of saying no, or if we say a yes for a favor, we always have to have our ifs so that the delegation, the effectiveness, the strategy that we are actually going through, the whole channel doesn't get at all disturbed by anything. Again, we know here that it's learn to let go. Learning to let go is something which in delegation becomes a very inevitable part of its complete accomplishment. Either it's manager, leader, or board of directors. Playing to your employee's strength. When we play to our employee's strength, somewhere we are rest assured that, okay, tomorrow morning, when we open eyes, when we go to the office, we are going to get those things done without even telling them, without even making them remember that you need to complete it, because we know that the person is equipped with those skill sets. When the person is equipped with a certain kind of a skill set and you tell them that, okay, this is something that we are completely assured you'll be doing it, it is perfectly fine. We, the organization, and the whole team can have that trust in you, can literally stay so efficient for the all the other tasks that we are giving it to you, but this one will be very assured of. But exactly what happens when we do the opposite? If that's the weakness, many a times the leader jumbles up, many a time the leader rearranges the whole thing just to challenge the employee, just to challenge the executive, so that the person grows, the person's growth is possible. And that only happens when the manager or the leader sees the potential in that employee. Every other person is not going to get a challenge every day when the task is going on, when the team project is going on. The organization is not going to take the whereabouts or not going to bear losses if something goes wrong. But only when potential is visible, the challenges are made. And the last one, we come to is use feedback loops to improve delegation. Feedback is one important thing that we literally want to make so effective so that we can come out of any wrong thing we are doing, any of the limitations we are lacking. And it is kind of an analysis which always works. If you people are aware about Johari window, it is one of the tools where the people know about the about you that you don't know. And there are other windows that tell you about your strength and your ability. So here I would ask some questions about delegation. If anyone has come up with any delegation inquiries, or anything that the limitation they have faced in their organization, can anyone just tell me one of the incidents they have been through? Is there anyone that can tell me a little bit about? Okay. All right. Then I'll share a story about a very effective delegation that was, again, a very well known organization had. And that is known as one hand up, one hand down. It is one of the strategies that is known as delegation story. So here, the name of the person who was interviewed for the delegation purpose was known as Justin. Justin is regional director for his organization, overseeing 6 business leaders with complex teams, all reporting into his organization. Justin recently had 2 key business lead positions he needs to fill. After careful consideration of both, he hired one leader from within the organization and one who was external. So here, Justin has always been known as a regional director for the best of the things that he can do. And just for his consideration and the complex teams that he's always heading to, he was given a task of letting 2 important positions to be filled. So he inquired that one should be from within the organization and the other should be from the external organization. External means all the candidates that might have participated for the vacancy that the organization has put in. The internal candidate plays a very different role in the company and requires a hand-on development approach. So the internal candidate was from a very different department, worked in altogether a very different atmosphere. Yeah, the culture and the base values were same, but still the atmosphere that he had worked for the other department was very different for what he was being allocated. The external candidate brought wealth of experience to the organization that does not require hands-on management. The external candidate was very well experienced with skill set that he had to actually demonstrate. He had to be very assured about what is to be done when. So that is why the external candidate made sure that he works more with Justin. So when that happened, what was the output that Justin gave to the organization, or the organization was benefited with what Justin did? So similar positions, but 2 very different leaders with different expertise the organization had got. Rather than approaching both of them in the same way, each leader required something different in him. He spent much of his time with the externally recruited leader. And when I'm saying here, that means Justin, who's the regional head of the organization. So he required most of the time with the external recruited leader, picking his brain for insights he himself does not have. He described this process as having one hand down and one hand up. So when I say one hand down and one hand up, it is like one hand down to support and pull a leader up while he has one hand up and learning from the other. Isn't it a beautiful strategy, guys? Putting out one hand down for support and pulling the leader up, well, the second hand is up and learning from the other. Learning is an ongoing process, and leaders need to be open to learning from their delegates as much as they are willing to develop and grow others. Now, when I'm talking about the learning of the stories, this is one very important learning that Justin derived from sorry, delegating 2 important positions, one internal candidate and one external candidate. Learning is an ongoing process, and leaders need to be open to learn from the delegate. Now, the second learning that I derived was knowing what the delegate needs of you is critical in providing necessary direction and support. Support and monitoring. We just went through that point just a few slides earlier, why it is important for providing necessary direction and support. So here, when we are talking about the necessary support that we can give or the necessary monitoring that we need to do, But we even need to know that everyone knows what delegation is. Everyone knows what importance of delegation is, why it is to be done. But then what is the reason that it fails? What is the reason that the organization still have to go about the whereabouts of all the teams, of all the departments, of all the organizational shops or the workshops to know why is it fails? So let me give you a tour about in a very conversative, in a very interactive manner between the two people that is happening in an organization that why leaders fail to delegate. So here we can see a gentleman and a lady conversating about why is it happening? Why is it happening that the delegation is not working properly? So the first thing that we come across is the professional asked the boss, why don't you delegate to your team? And he is asking with the body language, is like, why are you not doing it? Why is it not possible that we can make sure that everyone does, everyone becomes a part of it? So how are we going to do that? So once the boss replies, I can do it better myself and I can take chances. So this is a very basic and a very impromptu answer that comes from the boss that I know my work very well. You are nobody to tell me that, and I can't take chances because I don't trust my employees. So here, guys, what is the factor that is coming in picture is the trust factor. Until and unless you literally make sure that your employees, your efficient employees sitting under you, working under you, getting trained under you for the organization, if you don't have trust in them, you're not never ever gonna delegate them any important task. And at the end of the day, you're just gonna make your plate so full that there's gonna be no output. So what is the next conversation goes to? Just guide them. You will save a lot of time. So the employees are definitely, the executive will tell them that, please, boss, please, man, do it. Let them guide. Let them guide. They will save a lot of time of yours, and you can actually important task can be taken care, can get under your supervision, can be taken care by you, and you can think the whole organization's growth. So the boss replies, yeah, I can, but I have been doing this since long, so it will be much faster if I do it. Right? So, guys, when we know what are we doing, what are we trying to do, and we just make sure that I've been doing things since years, and the basic Indian mentality that comes in our very layman language is "ये बाल धूप में सफेद नहीं हुए हैं." Right? We usually come up with our parents, with our elders, with our bosses saying this line that we are not dumb, we are not stupid, that we're sitting at this profile, we're sitting at this designation. But I know it, so I'll do it faster and I'll be done with it, saving a lot of time. But do we actually save a lot of time there? Do we actually think that, okay, we can take care of it, but we'll do it more efficiently? Why don't we think that having a new perspective towards that thing, having a new informatory or a perception, having a new view towards that perception that we have been taking care for years might change it? So again, the boss says, no, 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 I'm not interested in delegating any of the tasks to my employees because they're gonna be taking very long and I can do this myself very fast. So what does the employee says now? Let's see. But you can't do it all the time. You need to delegate. Ma'am, you need to delegate. You can't do it all the time. You need to get your hands a little free of the things that organization keeps you busy with. So the boss, being the boss lady, always says, of course I can. But I can't trust since they haven't made it before. So again, can you see how trust factors work so impromptu here that it is something which is a behavioral skill that comes out of you rather than being cognitive, that you don't have to learn how not to trust people. It just becomes imbibed, it's a default mechanism of a human not to trust. So we think that no, whatever task we are doing, whatever task we are doing it, nobody can do it like us. Nobody can even think of presenting it like us. We have come across so many people like this at our place, in our families, in any single thing that we come, that people are too assured about what they are doing. But there is a very thin line of difference between confident about what you're doing and being overconfident that only you can do it. There's a very thin line of difference there. So when you're confident that you can do it, it's never going to hinder you if somebody else can do it as well. But when you're overconfident, you get insecure knowing that only you can do it, and if the other one tries to do it, they're going to mess it. No, but they can have a fresh perspective for it as well. They can have a fresh approach for it as well. And they might tend to do the work better than you. When confidence speaks, there is no insecurity. But when overconfidence speaks, there only lies insecurity of losing your own self. So, boss, just give it to them and see how they do it. And maybe with your feedback, they will improve. So, the executive says, why not to just give a try? Let them do. Let them work on the permutations and the combinations. Let them try a trial and error method. And maybe with your feedback, maybe with your guidance, they will improve. But the boss lady is very adamant. Yeah, but I can't take risk right now since this has to be present to the management. So risking. One of the qualities that differentiates an entrepreneur from a leader, from a manager, from a business owner is risk taking ability. Knowing to take the risk at right point of time, knowing to take the risk at a very calculated manner, knowing to take the risk in a way that the management or the organization, nobody goes for a loss, is something that entrepreneur aces at. But here, the boss lady is very sure that it is to be presented to the management, and I can't play with my face value. What about my judgment? How are they going to judge me? The board of insecurity starts boiling up there. What if it goes wrong? What if the management thinks I am dumb enough that I can't take my employees seriously and make them work efficiently? What if the management thinks I can't do any single task right? What if the management thinks and what, and it never stops? The board of insecurity, the cloud of insecurity keeps on bubbling, keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Whereas the employee, just for the sake of giving it a trial, which we always do, it's just telling that with the feedback, with your monitoring, with your support, they might improve. When a person reaches to a stipulated designation, they reach to a level where they become in the top hierarchy of the working atmosphere, in the work pyramid, they always forget that they always started first as a fresher. They always started first as a newbie to the organization. They always started first as the picker from the recruiter, as a talent acquisitor, knowing this skill set and nothing beyond it. But why do these people forget? Do the delegation task or do the surety about their own work gets it? No, actually, they are really not happy, not having that trust factor, not having that ability to trust others or their employees working under them, though they know that they have the authority of asking them to report to themselves, asking them to report every morning what were the learnings they did, what were the developments of the organization that they had to take in care for, what were the updation of the task that they did. But do you really think that the boss lady did? Let's see what happens in the next slide. Okay, just give it to them and see how they do it. And maybe with your feedback, they will improve. Okay. But with the same thing, what does she even reply to? Also, it takes hell lot of time explaining that, and competent people are already heavily occupied. So now there are two views that she has for her employees. The first that was she was not able to trust them with the management because she had to give and report to her seniors, to her boss. So she was not sure that can she present it. Now the second view that she has it's gonna take a hell lot of time explaining them. When she says that, even she knows that if it's gonna take a hell lot of time explaining them, but then she is gonna get or she is gonna subtract one task from her plate and she can actually pay attention to what is more necessary, to what is more potential, what only she can do. When it comes to delegating, when it comes to allotting, when it comes to allocating something to a person, we always tend to forget that when we give a task to somebody, it also reduces our stress, but it also makes sure that we can give ample amount of time to the important task that only we can do. We always get juggled up, we always get troubled in the tasks that even others can do. can do for. Even the organization is paying them for that, but just because of the trust, just because our name is going to get at the stake value in the organization, a judgment is to be formed. We just forget that it's going to take a hell lot of time. And then competent people are already heavily occupied. When we say competent people are already heavily occupied, we always forget when there is potential, only then the tasks are being allocated. The tasks are being allocated to people who know the whereabouts and they can take care of it in a very competent level. If you know that there is a clerk in your office, okay, if you know there is a MBA degree holder in your office, whom do you think are you going to take the first look for giving any administrative work? Is it going to be the clerk? Is it going to be the MBA person? Guys, can I please have your answers through the chat box? If there is some clerical person in the organization and there is some MBA degree holder in the organization, then administrative work is to be given. Who do you think is going to be the first one to get for the work delegation? Many of them are gonna reply with, okay, I've started getting replies. Okay, Mr. Khimani says it's gonna be MBA. Mr. Pandya says it's gonna be administrative clerk. Miss Shah says it's gonna be not MBA clerk. Mr. Bachawat says it's again gonna be clerk. Majority says clerk because when it comes to the administration, we know MBA degree holder is Masters in Business Administration. We agree. But then the figures over there, the organization over there might not be his kind of work that he's always been started through or the professionalism that he has hold through. But when it comes to clerk, okay, the one single thing that he has doing all this while is just administrating, okay, getting the files, going through the employees. So somewhere when it has that access to every single employee or to every single employee that he has the personal finesse to, the administrative work would be very effective over there. Thank you for the reply, guys. So here we are very clear when it comes to the delegation of work. We know how things are gonna be. So let's say the conversation continues. So the executive says, till when you keep doing it, you have a lot of other responsibilities as well. And the boss lady is abrupt with her responses. Our skills are our strength, and we need to be smart with what we pass on to our subordinates. The executive tries and tell her that कब तक करते रहोगे? You have to give it to some way or the other to somebody. After some point of time, you have to do that. You have other responsibilities as well. But the boss lady is the boss lady. Skills and strength we need to be smart with when we pass on to our subordinates. So she thinks that when it is equally the person is potentially with the same is on the same page or with the same potential that the other subordinate might have, then she might. So here is she trying to make sure that the other employees that she is going to delegate the work with are equipped with the skills she wants or the strength she has, or she also has another way out. Is also I prefer to keep my technical skills with me. It took me years to become master. I can't just let it go. So guys, here again what we were talking about earlier, that how overconfidence turns out to be an insecurity. I've given years to this position. I've waited years for this designation profile to be on my business card. I've given years, my blood, my perspiration, everything to just be what I am today. And you want me to just let it go like that by giving it to any Tom, Dick, and Harry who works under me? Is that possible? Should I do that? And the questions are going to always keep you juggled up with it. But just try and journalize it by saying it. Your priorities are for the growth, are for the betterment of the organization, and not to do the clerical, the administrative, the managerial level work until and unless they are not that efficient that you need to step into. Here, when we comes to organization, we always just put emphasis sometimes on R, whereas the proper, I would say, the presentation or the potential or the achievement or the goal or the agenda we have is always on the organization growth, because in the end, it's always going to make you grow. If you just try to grow yourself, it's never going to happen. The organization is always going to have some of the other issues. So, what are we trying to do here? What are we trying to make the organization grow? Are we trying to make ourselves grow? But when we try to do that, we are trying to make the organization suffer at some point of time. Because at the end of the day, God has given us just one mind, two hands, two legs, and the other internal organs, which are very quantity based. It is one, two, one, two. We are not like Ravans, like we don't have 10 heads, 10 minds, 10 ways to do the other things. Neither do we have those magical wands with us. Like, we can just circle at them and we can have our things done. No, we have to delegate it to the right people with the right strength, with the right abilities. And we make sure that the technical skill that we have taken being care of all these years that took us such a long part of time that we need to be technically sound. When we say technically sound, do we really make sure that are we it took years, but are we mastering it, or we are not letting it go just because we are scared that somebody else will? The cloud of insecurity always shows overconfidence in the body language, in your verbal communication, in your non-verbal communication, and as well as the para-verbal communication. So just make sure that whenever you become or you are at the position of a delegator, we need the organization's growth. We need growth of everybody so that all of us can grow together and everyone supports each other for their growth. So let me know what the boss lady says next. And here, when it says that we are about to do our technicality, our years of becoming mastered, do you really think there is any skill that we can become master of? Yes, we can. There are so many skills that we can become master of. But do we really think that we can let it go? Being master of a skill never hinders your profile, never hinders what you have learned, because what you know or the way you are going to present is always going to be your agenda, it's always going to be your prototype. But when others present, they have their own brain, they have their own way of presenting it, they have their own way, they have their own skill of doing it. Your position in the organization, your way of handling a critical situation, your way of handling a crisis is never going to be treated equally same with the other person. So letting go, having trust, delegating with the right strength and abilities to the subordinate is very important. So, what do you think? Either the executive rise or either the boss lady? We all know the executive made sense when he's telling and giving literal points for the boss lady to reduce her work stress and actually work on the things that nobody else can do. So, what should be the right way? We got to know why delegation fails, but now we even need to know what would be the right way that we can take care of the delegations. Determine what to delegate. Be very introduced to the staff. When your introductory portion of the task comes, when your introductory portion of the level comes, that you have to make it very precise that what task is to be taken care of, how things are to be proceeding after you leave the room, after the whole department gets together. It's very important that the determination, the communication between you and the team, between you and the organization is being clear. Identify and access the skills required. It's very important that we identify and access the skill required. Knowing the strength and knowing the abilities of your employees will literally make you win half of the battle. When you know that your own thing is being taken care with the right hands, the performance output, we can literally have a measuring tool for performing the skills the way they are, becomes literally the double, because we know that the right person is doing the right task. We are not giving any financial task to a marketing person, and we are not giving any HR task to a finance guy. If we do that, all the tasks are gonna go stop and the organization has to bear the losses. So either when you do challenge the employees, when you do challenge the executive, knowing the potential, we have to develop their skill set as well. And that is only possible when we do give them authority. Defining the task. When we talk about defining the task, their limitations, the advantages, the benefits, knowing that what role they have to play and why without them the task won't be possible comes under defining the task. Just tell them that you are the person that I have chosen among all the organization people to do this task, and just see the let on their face, the confidence that automatically boosts in their mind, in their body language, on their faces, even without knowing the task. Just a single trust or an empathizing line of telling them, without you, nobody can do this task, and the results will be very tangible. Here are all the details that we required for any support that you may need for the task, for the organization, or for the completion. This one line when you talk, when you conversate to employee, when you conversate to a colleague, when you conversate to your team member, just telling them that here are all the details you require and let me know for any support you need. When you tell them that I am there, okay, I'm gonna be monitoring you, I'm gonna be there for you through all the journey, that empathy, that I won't put it as sympathy, because just empathy, because we are forcing them to work harder, to work their best, nail it, get their growth being visible in the organization, get their value being valued and make worthy by the organization. But a single line being there as a mentor, as a guide, as a person giving direction will really help for the outcome. Here, we're talking about how we check the feedback, how we get the feedback, how are we monitoring them. So when we say, let's see the progress, we don't mean by saying it, let's see the progress by, okay, give me, what have you done till now? What the hell are you doing? Where were you? Why is it not time bound? Why is it not getting to the output? Why are we lacking behind? What are the limitations that you're facing? That is not how we check the progress. We monitor them. We try and tell them that this is the right way to go ahead. This is the right way to do the thing. This is the right way that we can make it more effective. We can make it more communicative within the organization so that the output that we receive, the accomplishment of the goals that we want, can be taken care of. Monitoring, getting the feedback, asking other colleagues to be a part of it, asking the organization, the other departments to be or have the growth measurement tools. There are different tools that the people can measure growth with. There are different tools that people can actually see it. When that whole process goes, analyzing or an evaluation tool becomes the progress tool, because we know for the next delegating task, are we choosing the right person or not? Are we choosing the right person to challenge or not? So monitoring and taking the feedback becomes a very important procedure for the delegation part, so that they can go ahead with it, and the organization that has already gone through a loop where there might be some limitations that were faced by the earlier task wouldn't be taken care for the next. The employee comes up, or the the boss lady comes up with saying, thank you for the feedback, great work. Or I can, or they just come up with something that I have some feedback. When we have these lines, are we open to positive feedback? Are we open to healthy criticism? Are we open to having some conversation about our limitations that we were not aware about? But while doing the task, people came to know about it. The people analyzing us came to know about it. So when we get to know about it, why do we have a impromptu reaction which is very offensive? We get offended if someone says us that, okay, you were lacking here, you were having a limitation over here. Do we actually take it in the right spirit? But what if we take it in the right spirit? What if we actually work on the process of making the criticism literally being healthy, working on our limitations, working on our weaknesses? Can we do that and make the delegation work, or the authority assigned to us literally reach to the level that our seniors, our managers, our leaders are expecting out of us, or even the immediate boss, or even above the organization, even for ourselves? If we know that this is our limitation, this is our weakness, can we literally work on us and make it worth getting or overcoming it? Yes, we can. So when we are actually in some epidemic in the current scenario, this delegation literally work wonders when we do it effectively, physically, in the office environment, in the office arena. We have the work culture around us. We just have to talk, delegate it. It's very simple. Maybe it's effective because we know the pros and cons. But when we are all in such an epidemic, in such a time when people are not allowed to go to offices, we are locked down at our places since 2 months, do you really think an effective delegation can still make the organization work well? We can do that because when, though being India in the phase of developing, though being our organizations in the phase of developing, we are not that technically sound, we are not that technically equipped with all the ways of working out, with all the ways of making sure that we are doing something which is technically right. I myself I'm not very much inclined, or I'm not that good with the technical stuff. I'm very old school person. I'll still write down the notes rather than making notes in the laptop or in the computer. I would still prefer reading a book, holding it, having a feel in my hand that I'm reading something rather than going on ebooks. I will still go physically shop rather than going for online shopping. So there is majority of people that want to be in the same category, but just because of the imposition of the epidemic that we have right now, everyone has to learn, has to be a part of being technically sound, technically equipped, technically advanced, being updated about all the things that we do rather than just a social media. I was never aware about there is something like Zoom call, which is such user friendly. There are Google chats, there are Google rooms for taking webinars, there are Google other ways of conducting sessions. But I was never aware that my teammates made sure that I become technically sound. I am still somewhere lacking it, but still we know that until and unless we overcome our weaknesses, we start working towards them, we're not going to reach a level where things are possible. So when it comes to such epidemic, imagine if everyone starts giving on to the level where the team of five is instructing each and every person about doing something here or something there. But at the end of the day, nobody comes out with the output or nobody comes out with the result. Just because of everyone was imposing each other with this you have to do, that you have to do, this is something that you have to finish by this end. Guys, we are forgetting that this is an epidemic, we're locked down, we are at home. But if we engage the right person at the right point of time, define the task very properly, give them the strategies that at this date, this point of time, this communication has to happen with the client, this communication has to happen within the organization, the business has to take care. If we do that very promptly, very efficiently, knowing that the organization can't bear any more losses because anyways 2 months is a big blow of the functionality of the operations to stop working. We can just make sure that an effective delegation can still make the whole organization work very smoothly. We just have to make sure that every single thing that we do in the epidemic, post our lockdown, the COVID is not going to go that easily. So technically becoming sound is something that everyone needs to know. And many of the elderly executives, people at a designated position still might be lacking on it. But if we make sure that one of the limitation if they are having is just the technical issue, or the limitation they might be having is doing the work that the organization now is going to impose on them because of the epidemic we are facing into, rather than refusing, rather than putting it out in a way that no, I'm not going to do that, I just can't do that. We just need to be more happy saying that we need to work it out. So here we are coming to the end of the session, and we just want to make sure that when it comes to delegation, guys, it's one line, one single rule that we can do it by empowerment is the most important of all, because with responsibilities, authorities to be given, and it's always a vice versa here. With authority, responsibilities have to be given. And now this is something, one single template, guys, that we can actually make the organization have just to run through with it, or even with your personal life, even with your professional life, even with your organization, within the organization, we can just have this. Let's make a template like this, where we know the skills that we have, the tasks that are to be given, the measurement tools that we can actually make it tangible, and how can we reach the targets. Either they can be weekly targets, either they can be monthly targets, either can be yearly targets, then the achieved one. So we need to make sure that when we talk about the measuring tools, we even need to know that what are the achieved targets that we have, what are the pending targets that we still need to achieve, the timing and the dates, and the comments. So this is a simple form of a delegation form or a delegation task form. It's well known as, where the organizations are already using it. We just need a review on it. By knowing your skills, by knowing your task, by knowing the measure or the tools that we have, by knowing your targets, by knowing your achieved targets, and always making the pending targets, shine and making run for their accomplishment, their timings and the comments, we can actually somewhere come with the output, come with the performance, come with the accomplishment of a goal, maybe a little easier way. And now, as we all know, the delegation is a very big part of a leadership, but it's just not a title, it's a behavior. Live it. It's a very beautiful line when we say leadership is not a title, it's a behavior, and live it. Leadership, as we said, always creates, empower people, and doesn't make followers. So now we are almost completed with the session. I would like to make one thing very, have a very small task here. I want all of you to realize that what one skill during this lockdown you have delegated to yourself and which you did effectively in your family. Okay, you have to come across it with a picture and please send it to pooja@hedweeg.com, and make sure, guys, that one skill during this lockdown that you have known by yourself, you have aced it, somewhere you've started it, somewhere you've mastered it, but you have done effectively in order to help your family. So I hope everyone over here or everyone within the session, I still think that they really liked it, and I would really can measure myself that the session was a little bit interactive in a way if I get these photographs back, catching a broom, cooking, doing dusting, or any other skill, reading that you have started effectively and you have come. So please just make sure that everyone comes up with a photo. And Mr. Bharadwaj over here is asking me that do we need to come about a skill or a task? Sir, any one of skill that you have learned within the period of the lockdown? And okay, Mr. Khimani is coming with the answer that he has mastered the skill of washing vessels. Bravo. So that was really amazing if you have done that. And okay, all right, he's saying he has become a pro now. So, sir, can I please ask for one of your photographs doing that, and we can upload it so that everyone knows delegation. A simple example of delegation, guys. When you put or you become the lady of the house or a man of the house, and when you have to delegate simple work or simple associations of work to your own family people, we only give them that kind of work which we know will that they can do, because we know their strength and their abilities and their weaknesses. In the similar manner, the same thing we have to do at our organization, knowing the employee's strength and weaknesses, giving them the delegated assigned work assignment, and we are going to have the best level or the best accomplished goals that we can have.
But I don't. I definitely believe in delegation. I myself was a person जो आपने बोला जो interactive conversation वो I was able to relate to it to myself a lot. And these were the typical answers that I used to always give. अगर उसको समझाने में जितना टाइम डालूंगा उसमें तो मैं कर लूंगा. Because of the skill set that I have, उनको समझाऊंगा तो भी उससे बेहतर मैं करूंगा. Then why do I invest my time in that? But later on, I've started realizing it, and we have started implementing the delegation part.
So
in a lot in the different areas. areas that you work into, not
So
just
your
office.
plate literally got a little less burdened, and somewhere, sir, can you see the difference that you used to or get
Yeah,
stressed with your work
definitely,
commitments?
definitely, definitely the change is there. But as Shikha, you told, no, I think there's a lot to be understood, to be learned of an effective way of delegating as
Right,
well. What you started with the thing that it is important to identify
right,
the skill within the opposite person. उसमें क्या अच्छा है and how to delegate it, how to lend a helping hand as well, how to lend a support
right,
area, and then we are just monitoring or policing, so that won't help. There
exactly.
you have to support as well.
Right.
So that will be more effective way of doing it.
Okay, Mr. Kumar over here has just said that lack of confidence in subordinates and nobody can do it as good as I can. Overconfidence and the only biggest barrier to an effective delegation. To a certain extent, yes, because when it comes to the lack of confidence, the insecurities really have a cloud which doesn't let you see beyond it. You know, your vision becomes hazy because they only let you see what you want to see, and the other perspective, other view, or having a 360-degree view, or having a macro picture of every problem that the subordinate might have or the organization might be going through. We can't have that because the insecurities within you, boiling up in you, makes your vision literally very hazy. So it is very important to just have confidence. And when you know that you are confident about some skill, some reason, that some potential that you have, it is always going to be your personal finesse to that way. Nobody can think, nobody can do the way things you can take care of, or you can present it in front of the organization, or for any of the people that can make sure that can have that finesse to your work, rather than making it sure that the other person is trying to copy. So yes, Mr. Kumar, somewhere it is a very big, I wouldn't say it is the biggest barrier, but yeah, it is one of the big barriers that an effective delegation would have.
Hi Shikha, this is Neeraj.
A very good evening, sir.
Good evening,
um
Shikha. Very good session. I'm so glad, so happy to.
A lot of the time it also happens, Shika. This is what I have seen. Probably the person in charge, uh, he wants to take the credit of doing it.
right, that's
Sometimes
it.
we don't delegate because we want the credit of doing it. We want to show somebody that we want to achieve it. We have achieved it. So that is also a reason where we stop ourselves from delegating, though we know that we are not the right person to do it.
Very true, sir, and very well said. And throwing a glance on that is very important, because literally, yes, as we said, out of overconfidence, or because of the insecurities, we always think that if the other person does better, the potential promotion or the potential visibility that we could have in the organization, the other person might literally credit or give the credentials. The organization would give it to them, and it is one of the really much weighted barrier that the organizations come across. So I think we have no more questions to attend, and thank you everyone for attending the session, and thank you everyone for making it interactive by asking questions. I hope I didn't force you to sleep while the session was going on. And I really want to thank my team, Rohan, Samrendra sir, Puneet, Pooja, for making the session so effective and getting the real output that we actually wanted. I hope it was really enriching for every one of the participants that attended. So thank you, my team, and thank you, participants, for being there.
Thank you.